Hi, friends. Welcome to the magic. We're not scrambling to share this morning because it's pre-recorded. So,
How y'all doing?
I love technology when it works, but
Yes,
still join in, chat with us, communicate with us.
yes,
We'll be back in the comments to connect with y'all
for
later.
sure, people, for sure. Um, well, what's today's topic?
You are your own authority.
Oh my God, authority. Does
hmm
that make people cringe? Like, uh,
I don't know about people, but it doesn't make me cringe. I hate being told what to do.
you know?
So,
Yeah. So my question of it is what does authority really mean? I'm gonna look that up. I'm just curious.
yeah,
Okay, Google,
we
what's the definition of authority?
Here's the definition of authority: the power or right to give orders.
Okay, it's the power or right to give orders, make decisions, and enforce obedience. Enforce obedience. He had absolute authority over his subordinates. A similar, a person or organization having power or control in particular, typically political or administrative sphere, the health authorities. So that
no wonder that word has so much charge behind it.
that bullshit.
Enforce obedience.
Yes. Like I'm a Will Smith your ass if you don't pay attention to me.
I wonder if he loves that he is a verb now.
I think I might have created him as a verb because somebody heard me say this, like, oh, I'm a Will Smith your ass. And they were like, oh my God, that's
Yeah,
funny as hell.
yeah,
Uh, you gotta
yeah.
poke the people. Poke the lion. Um,
Um,
so what does that do to you? I mean, how does that sit
I
with you?
took the words obey out of
Mhm.
my wedding vows.
Yeah,
I have hated being told what to do
yeah.
since probably conception.
It's weird to me because nobody likes that, but everybody, I think humans love that shit. Like they don't want to think. Because see, when you have authority over when you authority means I'm gonna follow you. And I think that's part of the problem we have in our society right now. So many people are not being in choice for themselves, and they're fucking allowing other people to have uh, power over. And then they get all butthurt when the power over, and then they want to step, but they don't ask any fucking, like, I watch daily things happen. I'm like, is anybody paying attention?
Oh my gosh, all the thoughts.
Obedience. I remember when I was
So,
in seminary, that word obedience, they were like, obedient. The fuck?
okay, so there's the Christianity wise, there is the obedience to God's word,
That
which
too.
hold that thought, just hold on. Because I'm going to take the dogma out of it and I'm going to show you the truth in it. So, Abraham Hicks, do you know who that is?
Hmm.
Jerry tells the story that he's driving down the street and he hears a voice that says, drive it on the sidewalk. And he just follows the voice. And in driving his car on the sidewalk where it doesn't fucking belong because he heard a voice in his head, and being obedient to God's word in that moment, he avoided being a participant in a 10-car pileup.
Okay. I,
So when you take the dogma out of it, of like, be obedient to this textbook as God's word, and you look at it as being obedient to the voice inside of you, that there's the truth in it for
okay.
me.
Okay. So for me, is I rather go with knowing because obedience. So certain words have a certain, for example, bitch.
Mm-hmm.
I've used this a couple times with other people. The word bitch means female dog.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it means. Not quite, because there's energy that you start putting when you make a spell of words, you actually create something. And for me, obedience is like following my knowing of God. But I don't see. I think what happens is, for me, this is for me. When you put obedience on something, it takes me out of choice for me. And
Yeah,
what I'm saying
I
is that
hear that.
so is there another word, because there's so many other words in the English language you can use to get to being in
Knowing,
choice.
choice, flow,
Yeah.
guidance,
Yeah. Because
intuition.
intuition, all of those things, obedience has this other word. Because when you look at this definition of it, is when you look at the definition, it's not just saying, eh, where does it go? Okay. Enforce obedience.
Yeah. So
Enforce.
authority, you're saying it's the enforced part that is problematic.
Right. Right.
So when um
Like when Snoop Dogg came on TV, when he got the award, he said, I woke up this morning, I want to thank myself for waking up this morning. Da, 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 da. Obedience to myself. And so this is gonna probably push people the wrong way. I know this, but I'm gonna say this. I have a belief system, John Ashford, not my sister Lila, nobody else, this is John, is that you are God.
amen.
And if you followed you,
Yeah.
you would never be wrong. If
Yeah.
you had obedience to yourself, not to the minister, not to the rabbi, not but to you, because
Yeah.
you were made in God's image, I think
Right.
we'd be a lot better off. But what I see is that because once you have a administration, an authority system, it takes you give up your right of asking questions. Like I watch certain people do certain things, I'm like, but that didn't make any sense. How many people have done things because somebody else told them to do it that was asinine? Because they gave the authority to the other person instead of asking a fucking question about is this a contribution to me?
That's a fantastic question. Y'all should ask that question sometimes, friends. Is
You know,
this a contribution to me? And if you are socialized female in this country, you're socialized as a woman in this country. I can't speak for other cultures because I don't know much about other cultures. But centering yourself is frowned upon.
yes, you're supposed to be obedient to your man. Fuck that. I know people are like, this really gets my goat. And for me, it's just because it anguishes me.
I was
To
having a
see
conversation with somebody recently about a choice that I'm making to
do tell.
like it's a choice that I'm making to like be selective about who I share certain parts of my experience with.
Hmm.
And the person was kind of asking why. And I was like, I really don't care what other people say because I'm gonna do the fuck I want to do anyway. And he goes,
Exactly.
oh, I know.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and what happens is that, and then what happened, here we go with that word. Most men say, oh, she's just a bitch. See, if you decide to are you willing to be your own authority? Will rub people the wrong way because they want control and power over people. Most people do. In most relationships, sometimes I hear sometimes when the group somebody do the domestic violence, most of the guys got there because they were trying to have authority over somebody else, and they didn't
Can
have
we
authority
talk
over
about that?
themselves.
How can you have external authority when you don't have internal authority? Can we just so the majority this might spin down a path that I didn't anticipate it going, but I'm going to go with it. The majority of your group participants are Black men, right?
Yes.
I honestly, and I admit that I hang out in a very specific corner of the internet, but I don't hear white men whining about their wives not being submissive.
Oh, because it's a whole different ball game. It's unspoken. It's a whole different. It's a whole fucking.
That's also true.
It's a whole.
Um,
Wait. Wait. Let's go. Let's go here. It looks different. It's just like a poodle looks different than a bulldog, but they're both dogs. So the approach is going to be different because of the environment they come from. It's like the palm tree and the pine tree. They're both
I'm
trees.
glad our audience is our audience.
Why is that?
Carry on with the trees.
No, but what I'm saying is, it's just it looks because, and here's the piece about it. It shows up different when you start hanging out with different. And this is the thing. Okay, so y'all getting to me something else. So I didn't realize until, well, I knew some of it. No, that's not true. But when you're in a relationship and you're in a biracial relationship, uh, you start noticing certain things that I'm like, I would go some places, and Tori's most of her friends were white, and I'd go certain places and I would hear and watch certain things. So I was like, interesting dynamic. And I'm the type of person, I'm like a huge vacuum. I'm just sucking it all in. You're right. I'm a big Hoover. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow. And then I put it through here, and I was like, oh my God, of course it's going to come through this. It's going to look like this because that's the experience that they had. But at the core of it, it's the same dynamic. And for Black men, it's going to be different because they don't have the same amount of power as white men. So their approach is going to be totally different because they can't. It's like in this reality, it's deemed to be different. Now, I'm not saying you have to stick to it or keep to it or hold to it, but it's in the shit of it, you know.
All right.
So it shows up looking totally different. Because homeboy, we talked about Monday. Kevin Samuels. Yeah, I got his name. John, you're doing good. Kevin Samuels sound just like, I can't remember this one dude. He's a comedian, Jewish radio dude. He had curly hair, and he was very like blunt about women and everything. I listened to him on SM radio. Can't remember, he had a talk show years ago, and I think he still has it. But he was
Howard
the same.
Stern?
Yes. Howard Stern's approach sounds just like when I went back and I saw Kevin, I went back and I watched him and I was like, oh, I've seen this. But it's acceptable. And nobody really says anything. Oh, he's just flamboyant. But at the core, some of the same approach that I hear in the dialogue was the same.
That's so interesting because I think Howard Stern's a fucking asshole. Meanwhile, I look at Kevin Samuels and I'm like, oh, your mommy didn't hug you. Oh.
But what I'm saying is, but as a person who does this work, and I'm constantly working on myself, it's the same. And because I get to live in two different worlds, it shows up different, but it's the same bullshit. Yeah. Person not being comfortable with themselves. You only have to have authority over somebody else when you fucking feel uncomfortable about you.
Okay. So there are so many places to go from here.
And can I say nothing?
Yeah.
So I look at my brother and I, and we had a great example of an example of being man and not having to have. My dad never had authority over my mom. My mom and dad have been married for 60 years. My dad I never the entire time when I went back and when I shared, because when it hit me the first time, I was teaching one of the classes in Savalti, and it hit me, and I was like, wow, my dad never, in all the time that I was present, never was this heavy spoken, spoken, always have an equal approach. And I was like, man, and my brother and I like that. Like, we're not like over having to say like, yeah, sometimes. And then I love my brother because when my brother and my sister are getting in, oh, here come Yolanda with this stuff. And he'll make a joke of something, but like, I hear you, but okay, I'm gonna switch up. But it's never like, bitch, because I think what was instilled for us as young men from my dad was everybody has their own voice. And it gets back to me that I don't have to have authority. And this goes back to some access shit that I'm going to add to this, which I already had before access, but I'm going to give so people who watch the access. It's a point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in a relationship with somebody, if you think that their point of view gonna be your point of view, then you tripping. That's just my 2 cents about it. I'll be quiet.
Can I just say I don't like that? No, I'm kidding. Um,
Just a point of view.
yeah. I love what you said about the example that you have and about how you show up, because I think that example is missing. Like after we spoke last week and I was talking about, I don't know if I said this on the recording or not, but I am doing things that hasn't been done in my family. I don't look around, and I've said this for at least a year now. I don't look around and see relationships that I want to emulate.
Right.
Um, but growing up, what I saw was domestic violence and infidelity
Yes.
at the root of the tree. Like my grandparents had this dynamic of infidelity.
Yeah.
When I talked about the one uncle that I don't think cheated on his wife,
Yeah.
I'm like, but they fought like WWE every weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
And how many
so
people was forced by obedience of culture to stay in relationship that was not productive for contribution to their well-being, contribution to their well-being? How many people? I mean, ugh, gross.
yeah, there's a lot of that, like cross cultures. Yeah,
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 because you can tell after a while. You look at somebody, you look and you be like, they faking the funk.
yeah.
And if you could really put some little things on their head and get the information that's going on there, you'd be like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But it never is spoken.
I love learning things like that. By the way, I'm so nosy, y'all. I know I'm like
Voyeur, a voyeur in somebody's head.
small and adorable and sweet, but I am so fucking nosy and judgmental. But I'm not the kind of judgmental that will make you feel bad about like what's going on with you. I just don't understand it. It's different
Yeah.
dynamic.
Yeah, kind of interesting. So let me ask you this. So what does it take to be your own authority?
Self-knowledge
And how do you get that?
by actually paying attention to yourself. So I'm actually a pretty good example of this because I've always been different. Um, my family loved me, but they were also like just a strange little girl, so cute, so weird. Um, and I was obviously different from my peers, like when I was in school.
Uh-huh.
College years, I'm in communities now where people talk about like their party days. I did not have party days because I did not want party days because I would rather be at home with a book. And I didn't make that wrong. I have never made that wrong. And I think that part of the inner authority that I do have, because I'm not where I would like to be in that relationship with my inner authority, but I also am going to do what the fuck I want to do, like my friend said. Um, I think part of the reason for that is because I'm clear about who I am. And if I learn something about myself where like I thought I was one way, but I'm actually not, I don't have a problem acknowledging that like actually I'm like this.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Which y'all, I'm 40. I know I don't look like it.
Don't cry.
And so this is a work in progress. I might know myself really well, but I haven't always liked who I am. Like, maybe it's not who I am. I haven't always liked my life or how I show up.
That And that's self-evaluation to create the authority. Because there's
Yeah.
certain things about me that, I'm 58 years old. And I'm beginning to realize that I'm a bad motherfucker. And I'm a potent person. But I always, for the longest, and this was not forced upon me by anybody. It was my self-imposing, my imprisonment, my self-imprisonment? Yes. Of my capacities, of my knowing. Uh, I've never, my mom always teased me because I was always, and my brother called me Buddha a long time ago before I ever started doing this because I was this different type of dude. And, but I didn't believe me. And I'm
Mm.
right now getting to the point that I was talking to a friend. This is going to take a little bit off. This might be another show. I was talking to a friend about time travel. And the time travel aspect is something that I never mentioned to me, but I always knew that I could do something like that. And somebody mentioned this to me a while back and it hit me. And so I've been talking to somebody, how do I practice this? Now, that's some weird ass shit. Even me saying this publicly, I know people are like, what? But I always been like that. And I always thought I was crazy for being like that. Now I don't give a fuck about what people think about it. So I'll say it like I said it right now. And I wish that I had no, I don't. Yes, I do. I wish I would have chosen this much earlier in my life because I was always there. I was always that mirror effect, but I kept on changing it. Like I kept on blinking till, oh, let me blink, 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 blink until it gets to the thing where people can receive me. Okay, now I'm this. Even to the point that I realized that I chose this body because Arturo, one of my best friends, Arturo and Tori, we took the kids ice skating a while back. And I was going on the ice with them, and Arturo said to Tori, my God, if John's energy is so huge that if he showed up in a 6 foot plus body, I don't know if he would have made it because he would have scared the shit out of people because of how much. And I realize, and I know people this is I guess I said something, y'all. That got my sister. You all right? We're gonna take a stay. We're gonna take a break. Nah. Okay. I love this. You can't be live. You can't be live. Like you can't. We couldn't plan that. But I guess that's how I felt. As you spewed, that's how I felt walking around. Like, why didn't I choose a different type of body? And now I'm beginning to realize I'm expanding outside of that. And it's giving me my own authority back.
Mm.
And like the things I'll say that, and like even in my family, I know my family realized like, what's up with this cat? Something like my whole concept around God, like we talk about obedience to God. When I was in the seminary for those 8 years, I went there desiring the miraculousness of Christ. And what I was given was the not the true relationship. And I think my parents helped me, and I think my parents were unique in this the same way, is that never buying into the dogma or something. So as I got older, it became more and more like blah for me, not the whole relationship with me and God and the whole the Christ thing, but it's the like, it's just like it's something that doesn't. And now when I see something that doesn't fit for me, it's like putting I wear a size 10 shoe. If I put a 8 on, I'm gonna be miserable walking.
I'm
And
gonna get your foot in the 8.
shit, that should be like impossible. But that's what it's looked like when people have authority over you and you give up your authority with you. For me, that analogy.
Yeah.
Hope that makes sense.
I do want to talk briefly about that because I have done that. I've done that deliberately a few times. I used to be this person. So John talked about being a massive energy, and I obviously don't resonate with that at all because I spit tea everywhere. Um, but I would walk around and be like, here, you take my power. Usually in romantic relationships,
Yeah.
occasionally in friendships, but mostly in romantic relationships. And then I'd be like, oh, I don't like what you're doing with it. Give it back. um, and I had different lessons to learn in my first marriage.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't fully see it in that relationship, but I saw it crystal clear in my last relationship
Yeah.
because I saw myself do it in so many ways on so many levels. Um, and some of it, and this can be for a future conversation, but some of it is like some of it's out of sheer exhaustion. Just like I've been carrying all of this all by myself for 3 decades. I would like somebody to carry it with me, but I didn't choose the right partner for that. So there was a lot of me submitting to somebody. This is a whole new conversation, though. This is a lot of me submitting to somebody who didn't know how to hold and be submitted to, or how to do the submitting in the other direction. And so it was really me with all of this power giving it to somebody without the capacity to hold it all.
Yeah.
Hello, hot mess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Collision course for sure.
Absolutely.
You know, I
$1,000,000%.
was listening this morning. This morning when I get up, everybody knows that. And if this cat ever sees this, I hope to meet him in person. I saw him in person one time, this time I would give this brother a big hug because he's a little bit younger than me. Probably a lot bit younger than me, but he's such influence to me. David Banner out of Mississippi. Love that dude. If anybody can hook me up to meeting that guy, just to sound like I'll show him some gratitude. I got mad gratitude for this brother. But he said something about, he got on there this morning. He had something he was talking this morning about how society talk about the kids today and how they're taking the wrong turn in what the lifestyle that they live and pimping and gang banging and all the things we seem to be negative. And I got a quick tear. I woke up and I heard it and I turned it up a little louder in the bathroom before I got to shower, and I was listening to it a little bit more because my approach to young people, I'm still at the juvenile court. My approach with young people is honoring their authority and their choice, whatever that has been, without any judgment, and allowing them, if possible, to me being an example that you can choose something different. Now, my lifestyle, I grew up in Chicago, but my lifestyle was nothing like the gang banging or pimping. I know people, one of my good friends, and that, but I enjoy that energy because I will say one of my good teachers, I have a bunch of different teachers, as I call, is Mr. Fentress. I call him Flint from Chicago. I think he was I say it all the time. He's like, he laughs and everything, but he was one of my greatest influences. In his background, people be like, how could he be your greatest influence? Because of his background, but his tenacity and his ability to create and change his reality was awe. I'm in awe of that brother. And I think that when that's the type of taking, like, you are your own authority, I can start off really crunchy and crispy and fucked up. And I can choose to create something different because it's now the time, is the question I asked, it's now the time to be greater. And those individuals who judge those individuals who can't do that, I don't have too much love for them. I just like, interesting. Bye, Felicia.
we're obviously not turning into pumpkins, but we do need to
Right.
go here soon.
Yes.
Um,
Oh yeah.
I want to continue on that thread in the future,
Yes.
um, because I think that you and I probably have some privileges that maybe some other people who grew up in our neighborhood didn't.
Yes. Absolutely.
And I would love to talk. It is choice, and there's so much more in there. There's so
Yeah.
much that influences the choice, and there's so much like there's choice that was available to me because of how I was nurtured
Yeah.
that wasn't available to somebody who grew up in the same building
Yeah.
as me
Yeah.
because she wasn't nurtured the same
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
But it also, for anybody who is looking for a great resource on becoming your own authority, I would read the book The Courage to Be Disliked.
Wow.
I
Was that by?
don't know the authors. They're Japanese. Japanese names aren't sticking in
Okay.
my head these days
Yes.
right now. Um, but it's on audiobook as well as it's a print book, and it's something that you're going to want to buy. It's something that you're going to want to revisit over and over again. And there is something in there, it's come up a few times, but when you talked about like if you were 6'4" with all this energy, he talked about however tall he was and how it's easier for him to do his work as a philosopher because of his build.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier for me. People just walk random ass strangers. The chick at the Chinese food restaurant down
Yeah.
the street. I walked in to pick up my order. I walked back out. I sat in the car with my then boyfriend, looked at him and was like, the chick at the counter, she's going through a horrible divorce. Her husband's being a colossal asshole and her lawyer is kind of useless. And he goes, do you know her? Hadn't even seen her before. It
Yeah.
wasn't like she was even a regular cashier there. But that's my life. People walk up to me and are like, Lila, here's everything. And I'm
Yeah.
like, sure, why not?
Yeah. So
But
true. The
because
body
of
issue.
this,
Yeah.
because of the body I chose, because of the
Yeah.
temperament that I chose, because of the nervous system that I chose, because of the experiences that I had that led me to be someone who's empathic, empathetic,
Hmm.
and compassionate. Like people have told me the wildest shit. And as long as I don't get Alzheimer's, it's safe with me. But it's true. Um, but like that happens because you're not gonna get judged over here.
Right. Right.
Not I won't say you won't get judged. You won't get shamed. I might be thinking, that's kind of bonkers.
Yeah. But
But
I'm not gonna make it like, oh, you stupid.
I might be thinking that's kind of bonkers, but you're gonna feel like that's okay. Like that's kind of bonkers and that's okay. Cause I mean, I really have no room to talk.
No, we are. Yeah.
So
Well,
thank you, friends.
we'll be back next week. Actually, yeah, we could be back next week. I will be we'll probably do this I'll be out of town doing this. So
I was
uh
gonna say, do we need to pre-record again?
we might pre-record, but you and I get together. But we'll see you guys still, regardless, next Monday, either live or recorded. Love you guys.
Bye,
Peace and blessings.
friends.
Bye bye.